The Violin Child. Album I Origin, 1947 to 1959.
They called me the girl who swallowed a violin. Loud. Raw. Crooked from the start. At least, that's what the men in white coats scribbled on their clipboards. I wasn't born in Manila. Not even in a hospital. Just someplace the map forgot. A red dirt road, for houses on stilts, windows that sighed whenever the monsoon pressed its weight against the wood. The first sound I remember wasn't a lullaby, nor a hymn. It was Tati's bamboo saxophone. Cracked, unfinished, pointed at the wall. Like he expected the wall to sing back.
Celestina Villanueva was born in 1947, Manila, though not in a hospital. Just someplace the map forgot, for houses on stilts, the dirt road bleeding red after rain. On mornings when the tide pulled back, the air smelled of fish guts and salt. Lola fried galunggong in oil that popped like gunfire, and the smoke clung to their hair for hours. Celestina would hum through the grease, pretending the sizzle was an orchestra keeping time with her. Her father, Ramon El Carpintero Loco in the neighborhood, sat cross-legged on the floor, carving rhythm into wood with his penknife. Guitars from discarded doorframes. Saxophones from bamboo. Violins from packing crates. Drums from kerosene tins. His shoelaces dangled mismatched, one black, one brown, always frayed. She stared at them whenever he bent close, wood shavings falling into his lap. She liked that they didn't belong together but somehow worked. Like her. Tingnan mo, hija, he said, slipping between Tagalog and Spanish the way he slipped between notes. Hindi kailangan perfecto. Incomplete is complete. You don't fix the sound. You let it breathe crooked. Crooked is still alive. He lifted the half-made sax, blew into its cracked mouthpiece. The note split, bent, buzzed against the rafters until it became something raw, jagged, alive.
Sometimes I laughed when the doctor said broken. Laughed until the sound went sharp enough to cut. Sometimes I didn't laugh at all. But the house never cared. The walls kept my voice anyway. In our house, even silence had a pulse.
Neighbors swore you could tell when the Villanuevas were awake. Music spilled from the parlor and through the cracked shutters, not hymns, not radio hits, but half-finished songs stitched from wood, wire, and stubborn breath. And in the middle of it all, a girl with a rasp where a voice should be. A child no one expected to sing, who instead made noise too alive to ignore. Noise that would become myth. Night pressed heavy against the shutters. She leaned close, ear against the wall. From the other side came the faint echo of her father's sax, cracked, half-formed. The wall answered back. That was her first duet. Not with a choir, not with an audience. With silence itself. Time bent echoes into headlines. The rasp the doctors once called broken, the neighbors once called noise, the nation began to call holy. The girl who sang to walls soon found herself singing for a city, a country, for a reel-to-reel that refused to stop turning. The file remained anyway, tucked in a drawer where dust gathered faster than memory. But paper has a way of lying. And sometimes, while the ink stiffens, another voice cuts through.
Doctor's Notes, Nueva Estrella, 1947. Patient, Celestina Villanueva. Diagnosis, broca's aphasia, congenital laryngeal abnormality. glottic gap, prognosis, limited to nonverbal or severely impaired vocalization, recommendation, surgical correction, low success probability, institutional care advised observation, patient attempts mimicry of bell. Prolonged tone resembled bowed string, not speech. Album I, Ascent, 1960 to 1962.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What I'm about to tell you will sit in your throat like a bad coin. Picture this: a broadcast studio brighter than noon on a salt flat so white it hurts your eyes. And in the middle, a slip of a girl, no more than 16. Hair tied neat, chin set like she's been bowing for curtain calls since before she could spell her name. On her right, her father's shoulders like a dock worker's, hands calloused from instruments and stubborn wood. Just behind them, two young men in sharkskin suits, their grins stuck on like decals. Nobody caught their names, but they orbit close, satellites to her sun. And here's a peculiar thing: the tall one's shoes shine so clean you could shave in the reflection. But the laces, one black, one cream, could be nothing, could be everything. She steps up. No fuss, no clearing her throat. The microphone, just ceremonial. The air itself seems tuned for a voice. The curtains breathe. For a second, she thinks they breathe with her. And when she sings, folks, I've heard midnight trains moan through Valparaiso. I've stood in San Aurelio Cathedral when 100-voice choir hit the Gloria. I felt a hurricane's howl rattle tenement windows. But this folds them all into dust. Low notes roll in like thunder beneath your ribs. High ones cut clean like dawn splitting a dark sea. And together, they build something with no name, but a shape your bones recognize. Even the governor wired in said if this nation's soul had a voice, it would sound like hers. I'd place my wagers on that, and when she finishes, silence. Nobody breathes. The reel-to-reel in the corner blinks its red eye twice, like it's surrendering. You can't bottle lightning, folks. Tonight proved it. And now we return to our regularly scheduled program.
The applause still rang in her ears hours later, as the black sedan slid down Avenida Dorada. Camera flashes sparked against the windows like magnesium fireflies. Her father, Ramon Villanueva, sat beside her, hat in his lap, voice low, talking fees, bookings, how the family name must stay spotless. He muttered once under his breath, almost a prayer. Senor, bentáyanemos sia. Lord, watch over her. She nodded in rhythm, eyes drifting past the glass, where street lamps smeared into ribbons of gold. Reporter, Miss Villanueva. This way. Over here. Another flash. A man in tweed scribbled so fast his notebook quivered. She turned just enough, polite as porcelain. Behind her, against the wall of the control booth, the sharkskin pair lingered, laughing at nothing anyone else could hear. The tall one's mismatched lace hung loose, untouched. He didn't bend to fix it. On a tray nearby, 2 coupe glasses of champagne sweated into the air, bubbles already gone flat. Hold her for la vos. Over here! Someone barked. Her father stiffened, jaw tight. Eyes fixed not on the men, but the bulbs. The shorter suit stepped forward, grin already signed and sealed. He pressed a bouquet into her hands, white lilies, pink roses. Water dripped cold onto her wrist. He leaned close. Said something only she heard. She didn't answer. Her eyes slid instead to the black curtain at the back. Something shifted there, too fast, too dark to pin down. She smiled anyway, flawless, like an advertisement. Her knuckles blanched around the ribbon. In the corner, the reel-to-reel began turning again. Quietly. Like it was listening.